Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining me on the Slice of Wine podcast. I'm your host, Jared Taylor. I'm joined by someone overseas today. I'm gonna probably butcher this. I'm gonna let you say your name because I'm not from your country and I want to be respectful. So, um,
That's okay.
let's kick it off.
So my name is Iker Berasaluce. I'm originally from Spain, but been living in Vienna for over 10 years now.
Love it. And I was not gonna get that right, so I'm so glad that you stepped in and said that. Tell us a little bit about your background.
So yes, I mentioned I came to Vienna 10 years ago. I finished my master's in chemistry um, here in Vienna, and I started with my PhD. So I was like very into science back then. But because that's not really so much fun, I decided to go to the wine world. In the beginning, my first step was in a wine school, in an enology school, basically, where I was learning a lot about winemaking and the vineyard. But at the same time, I was working and helping them with some projects, some like let's say high-level chemistry projects they had in their school, basically. And yeah, I liked it very much, but still it was very chemical, so it was not as fun as I expected. So yeah, I mean, of course, I was working with wine and things related to wine, but it was not like how I expected a job in the wine industry. So basically, I went to work in wineries. I worked here in Vienna and South Africa and some wineries, and I also realized that's maybe not for me because back then I was in the 20s, yeah. And everyone doing what I was doing are basically people from, well, it depends where. I'm talking about here in Europe. Most of the young kids from the wineries, from family-owned wineries, they are used to doing this work. They go to school, they learn this for a few years, and they are like 22, 23 maybe, and they are used to this hard work in the winery. So they're really, yeah, I mean, they know how this works, and because it's actually basically hard work. And I thought like, up to the point I would like to reach, this would take me some years, and I'm not sure if I can make this for so many years. So basically, because I speak many languages, I like writing, I like talking to people, and yeah, my wine knowledge was quite good back then. I decided to switch a little bit my focus to wine, and that was at the same time that the COVID pandemic came. So it was a very good time to start with social media to kind of like, yeah, make wine digital, let's say. And this is what I did. This went very well. I was very successful, much more than I expected, honestly, which motivated me very, very much. And I kept on doing that. And yeah, so basically nowadays I write some wine related articles, and through this writing and content creating, and I also got to judge in some wine competitions, and yeah, basically that's what I do, a little bit of everything.
I love it. Um, yeah, I mean the pandemic brought there was a lot of bad that came with it, but there was also some good that came with it as well. And you obviously looked at where you could move into, and it worked out very well for you. So kudos to you for doing so.
Thank
Can
you.
you talk to our audience that maybe doesn't know what
Mhm.
wine judging is and what that entails and why you enjoy it so much?
So, wine judging to a professional level means basically when you get a sample, a wine, you have to be like fair to this wine and to this producer, and you have to give a value to this wine, right? So the most important thing is you leave your personal preferences away, and just concentrate on how this wine is for the purpose it's made, right? So you judge wine according to some factors. I'm not gonna get very technical to it, but of course, as many of you know, like optical in the nose, in the mouth, and due to these parameters, you just basically give it a grade, or you just like, I mean, it depends. They're like wine. wine championships or wine contents are very different. So sometimes they just want a grade. Sometimes they want to qualify the wines, like sorting it out. Like, but basically, it's just like things you would focus are like on the nose, of course, very important, like how complex the wine is, how clear the wine is, how intense the wine is, and on the palate, you will focus on how balanced the wine is. Also, that you will check the length, of course. Yeah, these are parameters you will look after, right? And but always very important to leave your personal preferences away, because this is what many people unfortunately don't do. And it's not like I like the wine or I don't like it. It's just like, okay, how good is this wine? And of course, you have to be trained for this. It's not very easy.
And so along with judging, writing, you're involved with a lot. You talk about being a wine
Mm-hmm.
content creator, which you are. You've put out a ton of awesome content. Can you tell us what you love most about that, and what pieces of content you prefer doing? You know, more than anything, like what subjects you like to talk about in regards to wine the most?
So I'd like to do a broad and general thing. I would like to connect to kind of like to write or to talk about anything that is, of course, related to wine. But I don't like to focus on any particular matter. Let's say this is what it kind of makes the content like always like interesting and fresh and new somehow, I believe. So I can be writing about, I don't know, vineyards or grape varieties, and I can be writing about like, I don't know, wine serving and wine glasses on the other side. So yeah, there's nothing really I can say, but usually, of course, I would write about the actual wine I don't know, I'm posting or I'm writing about. But it really depends. It really depends on my mood, what I feel like. Usually, it's like my inspiration, right? Or if I'm drinking a specific wine and it is from a very particular grape variety, maybe I would talk about this grape variety and not so much about the wine itself. If this answers your question.
It absolutely answers the question, and really look forward to continuing to see the great content that you put out.
Yeah.
I have to ask you this too. So, and I don't know if you'll be able to answer it. Most people can't answer it. If you could only drink one wine the
Mhm.
rest of your life, what would it be and why?
Okay, I understand why people cannot answer this question. I can also not answer this question because it really depends on so many factors, right? It depends on what you feel, first of all. It depends on who are you with. It depends on if you're eating something or not. If you're eating something, what you are eating, right? Um, of course, in every wine category, let's say, I have some my preferences. So in sparkling wine and white wine, red wine, fortified wine, that I tend to go for, but there's no specific wine. Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry.
No, it's totally fine. Can you tell us some of your favorite wines though? Not one that you if you had to drink the only one the rest of your life, but what if you want to give a shout out to any types here today?
Sure. So one wine I like very much, one wine group or appellation, it's champagne, of course. It might sound this very, I don't know, but yeah, it's the truth. So I love champagne. And if you really want to dig into champagne, and I had to choose one what is has a quite good, like, I mean, it's a champagne you could drink every day. It's not a very crazy expensive champagne. I would go for Bollinger, which I like very very much. Definitely one of my favorite non-vintage champagne. If you're talking about reds, I'm more the Bordeaux Rioja kind of person. Sometimes I feel like something more structured, more like Burgundy style. But yeah, definitely I would go for Bordeaux and usually left bank. Producers like whatever. I mean, it's really I kind of like change, like trying different ones rather than drinking the same. Yeah, for white wines, I love Riesling and aged Chardonnay. And yeah, and fortified wines, I'm a huge fan of sherry, especially Palo Cortado and Oloroso styles. Yeah. So you have a broad
What are you?
question.
No, I like it. Hey, the more the better. What are your thoughts on canned wine and how it seems to be growing more and more? I've heard differing opinions, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
So, in this topic, my opinion also differs because, from one side, I see my scientific background and my, like the practicality of it, and from the other side, what I really like associate more with wine, which is like culture and a bit of tradition, right? There's also a very big different approach in the United States and in Europe. This is the most important factor to answer this question. For me, as a European and a real European and a proud European, I am not very fan of canned wine. Although I know from the technical part of it, it's a good vessel, let's say, especially for wines that are supposed to be drunk young and they're not supposed to make any aging and they're supposed to be like uncomplicated to drink with friends, not just not to think too much about it. But yeah, it's also lacks a bit of tradition. What wine should be. I don't know. I know in the US people are more liberal. Here they're more conservative when it comes to wine and how to like to bottle wine. Um, and yeah, honestly, I've only tried canned ones once in my life, so there's not much I can see about the quality. And this was actually in California. Yeah, but yeah, I mean the quality is increasing, and not only canned wine, but also bag in box and other forms of bottling wine are getting more frequent. Yeah.
So, given your background, can you have like talk us through? I guess if you don't mind, like scientifically speaking,
Mhm.
um, does it affect the wine if it's canned? Like, or you made a comment when you were talking about it how sometimes canned wine is better for wines that should be you should drink young. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. So canned wine. I mean, cans are totally like how do you say like totally natural and totally there's no air contact. So if the wine is, let's say, totally ready to drink, that usually like most of the like of course lower quality, but also like a bit better quality, but not too um, complex or complicated wines that gain with aging, then it's totally fine, right? But I would never bottle a wine that better wine that is supposed to age a little bit, is supposed to gain complexity, because yeah, it depends also if the wine is closed with screw cap or with a cork. The development of the wine is different. But even with the screw cap, there's a little bit of air coming through. And yeah, so the wine develops slowly. Honestly, I have not so much experience about canned wine. As I said, I only had it once. But yeah, I mean, it's very commonly used for beers, and I mean, I don't like drinking the beer from the can directly with this metal flavor, but if you put it in a glass, it's the same as you would do with the wine, right? There's nothing you notice it, right? So I'm not really against it from the practical part of it, of practicality, but I don't find it so aesthetic. I don't find it so yeah. So I don't know. Wine, it's not just a drink. It's also a kind of a piece of culture and a piece of heritage. Traditionally, it was drunk with food, right? So I kind of like to preserve this kind of things that come together. That's why I like educating about wine, to drink better wine and less wine, and not just like wine as would be Coca-Cola or something like that. Nothing against Coca-Cola,
Love it.
totally fine.
Yeah,
Great.
that's funny. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today, and hopefully we can have you come back. Uh, as we wrap up here, is there, um, where can people learn more about you or get in touch with you? What's the best path?
Definitely Instagram. Um, I'm thinking of spreading out a little bit my channels, but I haven't been there yet. Too many things on my mind. But yeah, Instagram, Iker Wine, just to know everything about wine. I tend to write kind of like higher level wine content. So maybe if you're really a beginner, you're discovering the world of wine, you will find it interesting, but you would be a bit lost sometimes. But yeah, it is I kind of like writing what I enjoy and what I feel fascinated about, and I'll just like uh, simple things. There are lots of people doing that, so why should I do this the same, right?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, and we look forward to hopefully having you on again in the near future, and we can dive into some other topics.
Thank you very much.